5 years left. We don't have any time left. You
Right.
know, we were out of time before we were born, you know.
Yes.
We got born into
Promotional.
this mess too, just like everybody else alive today, you know. And so the best we can do is try to figure out some way to save what little is left or will be left after people wake up and quit warring and spending all their money on trash, you know, or you
All
know,
the time on trash.
and the method we measure is economic growth. You know, we don't need economic growth. We need economic change, but we need to, you know, shrink some, you know,
We
and
need cannabis growth.
yeah,
I mean, I don't know. I don't know. Listening to both of you, it's like, are we over the tipping point? And does it matter if we hemp the world? Does it
yeah.
matter if we started
It
growing
matters. It'll
now?
come
That in
back
5,
sooner.
what's that?
It matters. It will come back sooner. You know, we'll be able to try to save some of the little bit that's left. Maybe, hopefully, we're not going to Blade Runner land. You
Right.
know, because the sky sure looks like Blade Runner land out my window right now.
Yeah.
You
Oh,
know,
yeah.
that recent movie, it looks just like they depicted it in that movie. You know.
In Blade Runner.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. The
I know.
sky is orange in that.
But you know, it's
That is
interesting,
why I
Paul. It seems like with everything that's going on, people are so distracted and inundated with everything that's going on that when you talk about, but hemp and cannabis, I mean, if we just planted, like we could change everything in 5 years, in 10 years, we could have new everything. And they're like, yeah, but. I was like, well, no, there's no but at this point. There's no but they can't. Most people I know, and very educated people, it's mind-boggling to me, and it's really disheartening because it's like, oh, okay, oh, well, who is even awake enough to do anything? However, on that note, the GM plant, there was a GM plant. GM bought a plant in Texas, right, for the decortification of hemp. So you're like, well, somebody's thinking.
Yeah.
Somebody's.
What is it? Panda Bio Industries in Texas
Sounds
announced
like a
in
Chinese
the
company to
winter
me.
that they were going to build a big hemp textile plant
Mhm.
in Lubbock.
Right.
And then there was another announcement just about a week or so ago,
Yes.
maybe two, that the same company, Panda Bio Industries, is going to build a big hemp fabric plant in Wichita Falls. So I don't know if that means they're going to build one in Lubbock and one in Wichita Falls, or if they aren't doing the one in Lubbock and they're just doing the one in Wichita Falls, because the
Right.
recent article doesn't reference the prior article from the winter. But that's a good step. It's a tiny one, but you know, it's a big one according to us. But in terms of the planet, it's pretty tiny.
It
You know,
would
but
be big. It would be big if in fact the big companies actually started jumping on and buying plants, and the farmers then could grow fiber. That would be major. That would be major. But the farmers don't have any reason to grow fiber because there's nowhere to produce it.
you got to sell it. You know, farmers aren't going to. A lot of farmers grew hemp last year and lost their shirt. Some of them committed suicide.
Right.
You know, so they didn't know what they were doing, and they didn't have a market ready to go. You know, most farmers grow based on a contract to deliver at the end of the season, right? So they know they're going to get paid. They just don't know how much they'll produce. They got an idea,
Right.
but we need to get into those hemp future contracts soon. But with the whole restrictions on the banking industry, which are slowly lifting, it's very difficult, you know, to be the first one in. You know, I've done that.
Yeah. First one in isn't very good.
Well, it is good in some ways, and in some ways it's not. I mean, you get to make all the mistakes.
Yeah. Yeah. So at this point, we have an election coming up. This is why Nayer and I started talking. It was like, we have an election coming up. We have two candidates that aren't on board with the full legalization of marijuana, cannabis. I think, Paul, and correct me, maybe you know more, if marijuana or cannabis were completely legal, that would eliminate the 3% on the hemp. And if we could eliminate that, maybe our farmers would actually be more apt to grow for fiber instead of CBD, which is going to be pharmaceutical industry anyway. So I'm thinking, I mean, we need full legalization. That's the point.
Yeah. We should, and the initiative I put on the ballot here in Oregon in 2012, which got 47% of the vote, it would have allowed farmers to grow hemp for fiber, seed oil, and protein without regard to the THC content, but with regard to the fiber quality and the seed oil and protein quality. I think the science is there, though a lot of hempsters disagree with me, that high THC hemp produces significantly more seeds than low THC hemp. Right. And so there's studies going back decades that show that. But we can't really test. I guess some of the seed companies would know, but they're growing, for genetics, really, not for protein and oil.
Right. So, nobody's growing for fiber.
Yeah, very few.
What's that?
True.
I mean, that's the saving grace.
I took the byproducts from my medical marijuana garden, my fiber, and gave it to a friend of mine on the Warm Springs Reservation, Quilt Man, to build a house after his house burned down. So made it into some of the walls out there.
Oh my goodness.
And arranged for him to get some other fiber from recreational marijuana gardens, because they're just going to throw it away or burn it.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's that's a good start.
Yeah, I got a wood chipper to chop up mine.
Well, so what can we do as this international hemp organization, which is what Nayer and I were talking about, to maybe what we're thinking, Paul, is to do a collective Zoom call with some of the people from all over the world, talking about why cannabis needs to be legal on the planet. And we're hoping that would be something we record and we put out there on all of our delivery systems, so that we can start giving people more education than what they're getting, from a global point of view, and from the necessity that this is a necessity. Otherwise, I feel like anything else that we do is, it's just like, it doesn't mean anything. The CBD market doesn't mean anything to me. It's bastardized. It's ridiculous. It's going down a road that just leads people into, THC is better than just a one specific.
My late friend, Dr. Todd Micarea, he was the only marijuana doctor for decades. Back in the 70s, he put out a compilation of papers called the Medical Marijuana Papers. And when medical marijuana passed in California in 1996, Bill Clinton was president, and the drug czar was General Barry McCaffrey. And he berated Todd Micarea to no end. And he had a press conference with a little board up saying that Todd Micarea's conditions for medical marijuana, writer's cramp, and things, which was just pure bullshit. But Todd went through a lot of stuff. He actually sold me his practice before he died of brain cancer about 12 or 15 years ago, before we really knew about FICO or RSO. But the reason I'm bringing that up is because of what you just said. He called modern medicine monomolecular mercantile madness. And that is just the best way to look at it. It's monomolecular mercantile madness. And there are so many, naturopathic remedies that, like cannabis, that doctors have no idea about. When doctors go through medical school, they only take one class on pharmacology. They don't study medicine, really. They study anatomy.
But in the meantime, we have been studying it in Israel for 50 years. The research of medical marijuana. So it's not like we don't know about it.
Oh, yeah.
It's kind of like what I don't understand was after all that time, they came in and diverted everything to a CBD market. which is one cannabinoid of the entire plant.
Because they could get under the law. That was it. I was surprised. We're only talking about a year and a half ago. It went
right.
from nothing to all these CBD stores opening up in illegal states, and a
Right.
market for these flowers. But it's a fad, obviously. And the future is in seed, oil, protein, and fiber.
Right.
And
if there is a future.
Yeah, well, there's a future.
There is. There is. Count on the survival instinct. We have a world of very selfish, self-centered people. When they realize that they are about to die from the way we've done our air, our water, our relationships, our economy, our fear, that button will spark action. Plus, most of them now, the majority of the planet is young. They've already smoked a joint. So it's not like we're dealing with the generation before us.
My kids know that.
So I'm loving the
our
way.
ecology is on a course. I mean, if we stopped our emissions today, the global warming is going to continue for another 50, 80 years,
Right. That's why we need to be building environmentally conscious houses out of hemp, of course. I'm talking about 3D printing the dome houses, waterproof, all of that stuff out of hemp plastics. For the medical stuff that's coming down, as I was saying earlier, between the 5G radiation and the leaking nuclear plants, we're sitting up here microwaving ourselves, possibly calling it coronavirus, but there's no way we can be living in 5G. And then those big gatherings, we have hundreds, if not thousands of people putting out those little 5 gigahertz radiation signals. That can't be healthy. Putting it next to your head, obviously, is, but then a lot of times people are wearing it. Yeah, now they're wearing it in their pocket.
He passed away from brain cancer,
From brain, and Dr. Tao, he was on those big phones from the 80s and the 90s. The same thing happened to Johnny Cochran. And if we had known, really comprehended.
I always worried about it.
Maybe
we did kind of.
Yeah.
We did get warned.
Yeah. I pulled together a lot of stuff. As soon as we get this launched, the next thing for me to be able to do is pull together the 5G research. Because like cannabis oil helped me with my seizures. Because all 4 of those seizures happened when I was introduced into a 2.4G first and then a 5G environment for the second set. So what I learned from the folks in Hiroshima is the ones who survived, the priests, the nuns, and some individuals, they all seem to be very spiritually based people. That relaxation that you get into. The priest had just finished mass. The nun was praying in her garden. I don't know what the other survivors were doing, but like I said, they seem like really cool people. Cannabis oil. And Paul, thanks to you, because both sets of seizures, Paul was able to send me some oil. Because the first one, the grand mal that killed me, I had no idea. Because I've been healthy all my life. I got a good spiritual base. I don't get sick, I get injured. And if I get injured, I know how to heal it. But that was the first one because it rendered me legally dead. But the cannabis oil, I smoke a lot of weed. But the cannabis oil helped guide me through. So when the seizure would start to happen, I could automatically relax. And it's absolutely amazing. So there's a lot of people who are exposed to that radiation. I've been on the computer since 1974. So I've got chronic exposure going on.
Yeah, me too.
But it's still, that low-level chronic exposure is nothing compared to what's going on in big cities, where people are getting, first you got the general Wi-Fi, and then on top of that, you've got these little phones putting out, plus, the laptop that's connected to the printer, that's on the Wi-Fi, all of that stuff is going on. Cannabis, will give people an opportunity to stop and think about what are we doing to ourselves. There's nothing like getting stoned off of some really good weed. The cannabis oil nurtures and relaxes our body. I think part of the relaxation that the cannabis oil does is it lets the radiation flow through instead of running into resistance when the muscles are tense. So in that relaxation is a bit of comfort. So like I said, the market is what corporate doesn't care about any of that because they also have money invested in the 5G companies.
Right.
I asked my sister Robin, how come the networks aren't covering radiation as a possible source of coronavirus? She responded very simply, who advertises most on the networks?
Right.
You can't make it through a cluster without there being a 5G phone, computer, somebody selling the tech.
Right.
So that's why I am so hopeful about cannabis. Yes, it's terrible about the fires, but it would have been much more difficult to tear down those structures that are not strong enough to stand up to the climate change we're looking at. I hope that makes sense from the mountains in Arizona, but that's what I'm seeing from up here. So the survival instinct. That's what we need to speak to.
Yeah. I mean, again, the fires are in a world of their own because it's who knows even why it's being started or if I can't imagine it's normal ignition.
There was a big lightning storm.
False flag.
The first windstorm.
Yeah.
There are some that have been started, but they arrested some guy down in Phoenix, down in Southern Oregon by Medford. It's just a crazy addict. You know, that's the problem is we don't have mental health care for people who need mental health care.
Yeah.
You know, we treat them instead.
That's
So,
bingo.
You know,
Bingo.
or lock them up in cells.
That's part of one of the books I did with Richard was Hemp for Victory, the $1 trillion crop.
Nice.
So that off the just the taxes alone off of hemp. And again, I'm a futurist, so I see hemp as a primary 3D, 4D, 5D, whatever's next, printing filament. So that the taxes off of hemp, if just 10% of that went into mental health. And plus with the cost of housing going down as dramatically as it will be going down, a lot of that stress that people are carrying. The apartment that back in 74, 75, I was paying $175 a month rent for, it's going for over $2,000 now. And that's in the Bronx. It's nice with a view of Manhattan, but it was still in the Bronx.
Right.
So people are seeing how the value of a dollar. Casper just told me the pound of beef was $10.49 a pound at Safeway. I said, wait a minute, $1 is equal 1/10 of a pound of dead meat?
Yeah.
So with that kind of radical change going on, mental health problems are going to be increased because of the stress that is being increased.
Yeah.
So with cannabis,
yes.
I'm telling you, I had to open up with, I think I put a note, okay? Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Yes, it's survivable, but shit,
Right.
it gets hot up in there.
Right.
Until the angel shows up. And I am confident, especially for those with the skill base for what's next. The folks who hung out with Moses, who had a clue what was going on, they just hung out and they listened and they learned. And I don't know anybody who among the living today more than Paul Stanford, who has focused and moved things forward, financial success or not. I guess God's got that financial success coming later on. Big financial success. But in terms of, well, Paul say, restore health. Okay, that level of moving things forward. We're just there. We are at the gates. We got the trumpets. They're tuned.
Right. Right.
And who better than Paul to blow the trumpet? To be the day the walls will come tumbling down. People have a vested interest. So that's what we're speaking to. Now, I wanted you to consider Paul for October. So you can do the last last 2 weeks, 4 weeks, whatever, do a what the candidates need to know about, different people from different states on Zoom, on Cannabis Common Sense. And I really appreciate you keeping Cannabis Common Sense going. What do our politicians need to know? How can the voters hold the politicians accountable? Where do they go to find out what issues are on the ballot? For example, I know recreational is on the ballot here in Arizona. There's a lot of people who may not know that. I explained that to a friend who wasn't going to vote, but who does love smoking weed. I said, if you want to be able to go to the store and just get yourself a pack, then you need to get your ass to the voting booth or to vote online for this election. And she is going to vote now. So as a motive to get into the traditional infrastructure, there's a lot of folks who, if you hold out a carrot like that and say, you don't have to worry about being arrested for having weed on you, that will motivate them who see no difference to get out there and vote based on that issue. We have never had an opportunity like this because the majority of people, like I said earlier, have already smoked at least one.
Right, right. But how do we identify which candidate, especially as a presidential candidate, is going to support?
Okay, I'm getting ready to do that research, and Paul knows a lot. Willie's folks at Farm Aid would know a lot. The individual offices, because they pay attention. Yeah.
What?
Status. There's some people who think Trump's October surprise will be legalizing marijuana. I hope not, because I hate Trump, and that would be terrible in my book. Even though I'd love to see him legalize marijuana, I'd hate
which is why
actually get credit for young people from it. But you look at Biden; he's always been one of the most vociferous drug warriors. Put tens of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of people in jail.
Right.
Kamala Harris was against legalization until she wasn't. And now she's a Senate co-sponsor of the MORE Act, which is the best marijuana legalization bill that Congress has ever put forward. It even has restitution and expungement. That's what the R&E in the MORE Act means, the M-O-R-E. They're going to vote on it this month. It's already passed out of the House Judiciary last December. And there are some Republicans who say they're going to vote on it. So it seems likely to pass the House. But of course, McConnell's not going to take it up, in these closing days. But the House of Representatives say they are going to vote on it. Now, you and I are in Portland. We have the guy who's the best cannabis, one of the best cannabis, if not the best cannabis representatives in Congress, Earl Blumenauer. Mm-hmm. And so he is the founder, one of the co-founders and head of the Congressional Cannabis Caucus, a group of, representatives in Congress who are in favor and working for legalization, like this MORE Act. The MORE Act was introduced by Jared Nadler. Nadler is the chair of the House Judiciary Committee. And so the fact that Kamala and the Cannabis Caucus back this will get it some publicity here in the last few days. It's very unlikely, though, that McConnell's going to let it go through.
Well, how do we get rid of McConnell?
Well, the only chance is if this lady, Amy McGrath, wins in Kentucky. The Democratic former fighter pilot, who's the Democratic nominee there. She could win, but the other way is to make him lose the Senate. They only have to take like another 3 senators to win the Senate and swing the Senate over to Democrat. So he won't be in charge of legislation if we elect just a few more senators. And it looks like a bunch of them are going to go down from the Republican Party. Most likely Maine's Senator Collins and Colorado's Senator what's his last name? Higginboom or something like that. The Colorado senators seem very like, and in Arizona, it seems like there's a good chance there where you're at that, especially with marijuana on the ballot, that the Democratic nominee will win. Who's the Democratic nominee there? Do you know?
Mark
Running for the
Kelly.
Senate.
Mark Kelly.
Okay, yeah, that's right.
Gabby Gifford's husband.
Yeah,
yes,
yeah. He's going to win.
Ah.
So, especially with marijuana on the ballot, you know. So,
and so you just gave us. I thank you, whoever hit the record button. Thank you.
That was me.
Because Paul, you just gave us the guest list. All these candidates need a microphone on this issue.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I've been, like I said, my first legalization rally was 68. There is no better microphone for cannabis than you, my dear brother Paul. When you want, if somebody wants to know just the foundation, common.
I think you find some people.
There's no need for appreciation in the face of the truth, okay? There's people, you know how much ego is in the movement, especially now. You are still focused as a pure soul dedicated to getting the work done. They can't BS you. They can't lie to you. You've worked to get the skill base to accomplish the mission. So for the rest of the folks to sort out what's real and what's false, let each of the politicians you mentioned, the main ones, and have a conversation with them. And if they say they don't know what to do, then you are the perfect person to tell them, have you considered this? And have you considered that? Kamala Harris is the first one. And I saw that conversation. Yes, she's busy, but she could take 15 minutes and have a Zoom conversation with you so that the country is clear on her policies. Because she also, when she was a state prosecutor, she also put a lot of people in jail. So, that gets balanced. Yeah. Also, Jerry Nadler, the great Jerry Nadler, he is another one. So this is the level of sitting folks that we can put a call out to and say, state your position here. And it's in one place and people can come and look at different folks, different state issues, wherever it's on the ballot. Because I know you and Mark Kelly would rock. You, Darlene, and Mark Kelly would rock as a team. The reason I don't say I should be in a interviewer or guest position is because I cuss too much.
Well, that's a lie.
I have a undiagnosed but clearly observable case of Tourette's syndrome. Okay. So I'm not the one to be up front. But like I said, when it comes to the politician, Darlene, you may not either. So we'll get folks who aren't old women who cuss. See, Paul, you're still young enough.
It's important.
I'm not young anymore.
You what?
No,
I'm not young anymore.
Trust me, I'm 60. You
are. I just turned 60 in June, so
Ooh.
I don't know.
Yeah, but I'm 60. I'll be 68. So going on 100. State your age plus. Okay.
Yeah. Wisdom.
We're in our 60s, going on our hundreds. When I was teaching computers in Harlem, it was when Tupac died, and I went to the seniors and I said, "What do I tell the young people?" And the seniors said, "Tell them the first step to being old is seeing yourself old. And then don't do nothing that's going to get in the way of getting there."
Right.
As in, be wise, pray, don't do, and you'll be old one day too. So we're in our 60s, going on to our hundreds. And Roxanna Dawson told me back in the 90s, she was 92 when she said this, you're not really old until you have 3 digits in your age. That's old. Everything else you're working on getting old. She said,
100%.
and then when you get old,
Right.
yeah, then when you get old, go for 100 plus. Why
Yeah.
stop the party if you don't have to? So I think we can.
Well, I don't think we're old at all. I think we've been on the planet for X amount of years and we're wisers, you know.
Yeah.
Right.
As
We're the elders now.
Yeah, and as the wisers, it's time to talk. I don't feel old, not a tiny bit, not even a tiny bit. There's no age in my, it's just how long I've been here, and the more wisdom I gain and the more ability I have to speak that. It's like I don't have any fear of like, no, this is how I feel, and combating and going, no, that's not true, and no, we don't have to. I mean, we've continued to go along and go along and go along because that's what's going on. It's like, is there anyone on the planet that can stand up and go, no? Like, and get that, get that together for people going, no, we can say no. We can say no to this. We can say we want this. In fact, a lot of times with HempingtonPost, I'm like, just do it anyway. Fucking just do it anyway. Why do we have to have a position for
just
what
do it.
We are? Just do it. Just like the women's rights. It's like, why did we have to, why do we have to fight for our rights? What? That doesn't even make sense. Like, we have to beg for what's already ours. Same thing with cannabis. They took it away illegally. Bullshit. They said when they made the 77-year law, like that in 77 years they revisited. In 2014 we did. Should have been legal again, but no. Like, they just bastardize us, and we follow. And I mean, Paul, you know this. We're in crises. Like, we're in such crises right now that if whatever we do in this election doesn't make a change to where we're at, we're fucked, and I'm going sailing. I'm out. It's like, I can't, there's no law. It's so hard to fight for something that people are so numb on. They just follow along. That's the way it's been. That's the way it'll be. I'm like, are you brain dead?
Well, I certainly don't agree with that. I think the next 20 years are critical, that we have to change, because regardless of whether we want to or not, regardless of whether there's a nuclear war or not, artificial intelligence will become sentient. You know, it's going to happen. Mm-hmm. So as long as corporations and governments have more rights than we do, that means the robots will have more rights than we do. Yeah. And so we have to change the whole government. It's not just, you know, we hold up the founding fathers as some kind of sacrosanct group of men, you know, and we know they were slave holders. We know they said, you know, slaves were less than, you know, they counted them as what, 2/3 of a person, something like that, you know. It doesn't sound all that admirable to me. It's the oldest constitution, but I think, you know, we don't need no stinking president. We certainly don't. I think we do away with the Senate, do away with the presidency, implement direct democracy so that the people really are in charge, right, and expand individual rights. So an individual has more rights than the collective. I think that's something that everybody can get behind. You know, if I have more rights than GM, or I have more rights than a collective, an individual has more rights than a group, and try to find the balance in that, you know. And so I think that we have to radically reorganize government. That means like a constitutional convention. Right. And
Vatican II.
Yeah.
For the United, I remember in the 60s we did Vatican II. Yeah. So it was done. I was a child. So we need a Vatican constitution.
We certainly don't need Trump.
You are absolutely
right. Life in the judges. You know, what a horrible thing that Trump has appointed 1/3 of all the judges, and most of them aren't qualified at all. We shouldn't be appointing judges for life. You know, that's crazy. Especially people chosen by, you know, these rich people in the Senate, you know, the Republicans that cheated to be there by, you know, gerrymandering and disenfranchising and blocking the vote. You know, they're only there because they cheated to be there, you know. So we got to change that, and there's a way to do it. We've got to mobilize 4-5% of the people, to get out in the streets and demand it, and when we do, it will change. We've seen huge changes here in Portland now. They aren't going to take the money from the marijuana taxes and put it into mental health care. At least there's that. But we need much more massive changes, not just in Portland, but all around the world.
Yeah.
And,
But you see what happens. You see what happens in today's world when people get out and protest. I mean, I've been at those protesters. They weren't in riot mode. They were protesting, and it was the police that called it riot and started charging
the
the
police
people.
who are the rioters, almost always.
Well, right. But they show to the world that it's these people in Portland are rioters, and no wonder we're being on fire. It's like, are you kidding me? So
Right.
I mean, this is what's happening is
Now
that
Portland's the
media,
only place in Oregon that's not on fire. Every place else is on fire, but Portland's not.
right.
We got the smoke, but we don't have the fire.
Yeah, but we still have the propaganda and the media around us. That it is because of I've had people say because of the protesters now it's all on fire. I'm like, oh my God, it's like the media, as we know, is the narrative that leads everyone. And what I'm hoping is because we are the media, that we can connect maybe with other medias in our industry, nationally, internationally, and make a voice that starts giving people information that's not coming from mainstream media, and it's not coming from the narrative, because people don't know
Well,
anything.
more and more people are off that. They aren't cutting the cable and just watching their own specific news source, and some of it is pretty scary. I think the QAnon thing is just total bullshit. But a mutual friend of Nayer and mine was recently spouting some of their line that was pretty horrific, really.
Patrick.
Patrick.
Yeah.
It's not their fault, Paul. It's not their fault.
They mean
They're
well, but they believe in some of these.
mean well. They really do.
I have so many friends that
all
go
of them.
down that road.
Okay.
I think they're
He's a
murdering and
calm
harvesting
man.
babies to eat. I mean, a mutual friend of Nayer and mine was just saying that the other day, and I don't think that has happened. But
What
I
was
don't
he
think,
saying?
huh?
What was he saying?
Well, she was saying that they're kidnapping, torturing, and murdering and consuming babies.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, just a horrible. That guy who went into that pizza parlor in New Jersey and shot it up, believe that same story.
Right.
Yeah.
It's just there's the stories that are out there are horrific. I mean, if something like that was happening, by all means, stop it. But I just I don't believe that. I'm sorry that our
I don't
mutual friend
disbelieve it.
is shouting that.
I
don't
don't
know how to tell
disbelieve it at all.
I don't believe it.
I believe it,
Yeah.
Paul.
What? That they're
Honey, there is a level of truth to that. There's a level of truth to that. We don't know what's true and what isn't true anymore, but so much has come out on child trafficking and Satanistic, sacrificing that.
Right. Well, they're all there with that Epstein guy,
Right.
You look at the Clintons and Trump, and they were all
Obama,
and Trump even stands up for the lady who was recruiting everything there, this Gizvel lady. So I wish her the best. Oh, really? Well, okay.
Right.
She must have a lot of stuff on him.
Right. Right. Yeah. And then you see Biden, it's like nobody even has to say anything about him. You could just watch him and see what he was like. So so all of
I think some of these horrible things have happened. I don't think that it's a worldwide cabal of people working to. I mean, if so, Epstein was at the top of that.
Oh no, the Rockefeller.
My wife hated it that I watched this series about Epstein. It's like a 4-hour series about Epstein on Netflix. She hated watching that, and it made but I want to know. I just want the information.
Right.
She did watch it. She wanted to know.
Yeah, I would imagine.
Yeah, she didn't like it, but she watched it too.
Yeah, yeah. Sometimes you
You
can't
have a good
unsee those
wife.
things.
Yeah.
Because my
But
husband
I didn't
asked
see
that
that there
of
were.
me.
I didn't see that he was murdering and eating babies. That if that was going on, that didn't come out. You know.
It would have been shown.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, that would have been TMI.
Well, I'm thinking that the focus, yeah, that is TMI. I'm thinking that the focus is for this first one, for the national one. It's an opportunity to
So
get because you get
how
this
does
old
Casper
sales
feel about
thing.
that? You know, Casper kind of was in that last one that we did.
I talked to Casper.
Yeah.
I talk to Casper just about every day because, you know, he's in Portland, single, with the fires all
He said he was
around
going
him.
to move there for a
And
while.
yeah, he was, but then the free rent started in Oregon with the coronavirus pandemic. So he decided that he was going to stay where he is because it felt safer in Portland than where he knows a lot of folks than down here. And then it seemed to get worse and worse,
Ride
you
out the
know.
free rent.
So I check in. Yeah. Well, right now it's almost good because the dollar there's no gold or no silver in Fort Knox. If there was, when Mnuchin and his wife went there to take the picture at Fort Knox on a pile of paper, not a speck of gold anywhere.
Wow.
So he decided to be smart and just focus in on not transforming his life down here right now. And I had to tell him yesterday it's smoky down here too. So it's not like he would have gotten away from
My
the
friend in
flames.
Wisconsin posted pictures of smoke in Madison, Wisconsin. Gary Stork, the longtime medical marijuana activist. Smoke's all over. I mean,
so
well,
it's all over.
Satellite photos. It went out to the Aleutians.
Wow.
So let's call them smoke screens, and let's see if we can penetrate them with something that is meaningful. I mean, if
certainly
Nayer and
willing to do it. I don't want Casper to think I'm stepping on his toes, but I'm willing to do it. You know?
No, I already, please understand, Paul, I told Casper, and I say this like, Casper needs to handle Casper, right? He's at a transition point in his life.
Yeah.
He's not doing new shows for Time for Hemp right now. He's already hosted, remember we've done the Solution Summit that we did in 2013. And all of the data is going to blend anyway. So he's already hosted the first one. So for this one right now in politics, since he hasn't done a new show on Time for Hemp in a while, like I said, he needs to focus. This month coming up, Paul, you're the light right now. You're calm. You've got your show going. It's serious. It works perfectly. There's no need to promo you. Anybody who is anybody in the industry knows your name. Knows you're not in it for the fame, fortune, money, or anything like that. You're in it for the purpose. You have many of the alleged other heroes. Dana Beal is standing because of work you've done with Dana. Jack Herrera's name is still strong because of work you've done with Jack. When Jack didn't have any place to go, you said, come here, all I got is a couch. When Willie would come out in favor of cannabis, you were there with the data that was needed, standing by his side, being the two folks that were on either side of Moses when he stood up on the mountain telling everybody else, you've been that person for so many people. Jack was able to say, hemp, and I don't have the direct quote, and I got to get the direct quote, hemp may not save the planet, but it is the only thing that can. Yeah. When you take that logic and
that's
you put
pretty
behind
direct quote. You know, he didn't put in the F word that Jack did, but it's a pretty direct quote from his very last speech.
Like I say, I don't know the quote, and I'm this side to remember 4 major brain seizures. So I have been scrambled, fried, flipped over, cheese on top.
You got it.
Okay. Okay, and then we need that quote, but that quote with you, with your fist like this saying, restore hemp. I'm on this table won't handle the way I would pound it.
Right.
That, when somebody says, well, how is it going to do it? Listen to Paul Stanford. You restore hemp. That's how you do it. And while it's crossed my mind since I'm an old woman, I've always wanted to know how come the male hemp plant is legal at this moment in some form or configuration, but if it gets to 3% female cannabis in it, then all of a sudden it's illegal. Are we back to the males can be legal to a certain point, but the females can't be legal? Isn't that the foundation of bullshit as we know the word? Therefore, this male, if a male gets too much female, he is suddenly illegal. What the fuck? In the name of freedom, free the weed. So like I said, Paul, you are the one. You are the most qualified of all of us.
I'll be happy to try it. I mean, I don't know about being the one, but
we can't try.
I'm trying to get better.
The fate of the future of the world is at stake.
Yes.
We have to do.
Well,
I wish we could afford the luxury. We need to find a way to get the leading politicians to have conversations between now and Election Day on cannabis common sense to explain their policies. Some of them will end up adding to their platform.
Right. So let's pick a date.
I think running it either last 2 weeks of October or the month of October. That gives us 2 weeks to get
the
the
first calendar in front of me.
Yes.
Hold on, and I'll go get a calendar.
Me too. Hold on.
Okay.
Hold on. This old body. All right. All right. Let's make a plan. Okay, in October. Oh no, that's not a current. I hate buying a calendar that's a year in advance. That's ridiculous.
Okay.
Okay, I have 2 dates in mind.
Go ahead.
The 2 dates are 10/20 or 10/23. 10/20 because it's a good binary.
10/23 is a
10/20.
yep, 10/23 is a Friday night.
And 10, yes, and 10/20.
And that would be 10/23 is a Friday night. So that's
right.
perfect for CCS.
That's good. That's when you do.
And
your
we
show.
can fit more than one politician with Zoom. That can be 4 15-minute interviews or 3 15 because you got the new segment up front. So 3 15-minute interviews. So that's 6
Zoom.
leading candidates to be able to have the conversations with Camilla Harris and Jerry Nachman and some of the other Mark Kelly here in Arizona, places where cannabis is.
And then Earl here in Oregon, right?
Oregon. Yeah, Oregon. I promise I'm going to learn to pronounce your state correctly. I still say Oregon because I'm a New Yorker and this is the lawn. So I want you to know I'm working on that. I'm working on it. I'm doing the best I can.
There's another state that's like
those last
mispronounced.
There's another what?
Another state like that gets mispronounced often. I forget which one it is.
Yeah.
Nevada.
Yeah, that's it.
Nevada.
Yes.
That's it.
Okay. It's not from a lack of love. It's just, it takes time. But the last 2 weeks, if we start on the 23rd and the 30th, Paul, those 2 shows And if somebody wants, if you find that a
our
whole bunch of
studio,
politicians want to come on,
our studio has been closed. So for us to
well,
do
that's
our
what the Zoom
cable
is for.
show, we've been recording it in advance. For instance, I've already recorded 2 interviews. So up to now, I've just been running old footage after our news
I
segment.
watched.
Right.
Today,
You'll see my
we're
life.
gonna record it differently. We're going to try to go back to our old format. And I've already recorded a little interview with a fellow who makes honey, CBD honey,
Mm-hmm.
and another
Wow.
interview with the guy Jeff Eichen up in Seattle. So we're going to pump those 2 into, and so I'm going to record the news. Then we have to turn it into the studio by Wednesday night under this pre-production cable.
Wonderful.
Wait, I can't hear you.
Because Darlene said the 21st, and that's Wednesday. So you're submitting it on Wednesday
The
for
20th.
broadcast on Friday, the 23rd. So that's both your dates, Darlene. 21st and 23rd is what you were getting. So the
Yeah, well,
production
I'm
is
getting, it
ready
was
by the
actually
20th.
the 20th. It was actually the 20th, 10/20, because of the binary code.
Okay, well then it's ready the day before. It's
Yeah.
ready the day before.
Good. Also, because it's exactly 2 weeks before the election.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, it's
So-
exactly 2 weeks before the election.
Right. So Paul, if you did 10/23, Paul, 10/23 and then 10/30, you've got 2 shows that are starting 2 weeks before the election. I think that
Yes!
would be really powerful, and I will help you coordinate if you like.
Please.
Yes. What?
Of course.
Yes. Please.
And so will Nayer. We'll get on the thing.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's not only coordinating the people's, but what my question is that they can't all be there, right? So you'd have to do like a Zoom thing at your studio.
Yeah. Well, we're recording on Skype right now. I know you're recording now on Zoom.
Yeah.
Right.
And we can play that back later. For instance, this video, if we wanted to excerpt something out of it, we could send it over to, I'm not the video editing guy. Got a couple of friends who helped me on that. And so I'd send it over to him, but I'm going to write and do the news here once I get done with this and send it over to him. And he's going to put it together for. Okay. That contract. Again. You hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Same
So
person. Call back.
Okay. So you're going to get it to your news guy, and he's going to go ahead and insert it in there, and maybe he and you kind of brainstorm the 23rd and the 30th, and you get that into my shows coming up are going to include blog.
Yeah. We can do the interview anytime. It's just a matter of coordinating him, I, and the guest.
Right.
And if we want multiple guests, we can do that too. We're right now doing it on Skype. I'm sure we could do it on Zoom as well. Do you pay for Zoom?
$14.95 a month.
And is that why you get to record?
Right.
Yeah, so I haven't paid for Zoom.
Right.
So maybe you can record it and upload it.
Absolutely.
I just upload to Google Drive, and then I share it, and then he goes and pulls it out and puts it into the hour format for our cable television studio.
Right. Well,
We can do it on Skype. I think most people have Skype even before they had Zoom.
Yeah, and the thing is that you don't have to have Zoom to watch it. Once you record it, what I'm thinking is once I record it, I can actually download it to a YouTube file and then share that. And that's kind of what I was thinking, was to be able to do shareable YouTube files so that we can share it super easy, right, without any problem at all. And then put them up. I definitely want to put them on Hempington Post. And if you put them there, and then I don't know what's our friend's name again? Shoot, Patrick, right? I mean, I don't know if he's somebody that we could include as we move forward, so that we need a big base of distribution. I
Yeah.
mean, we really do. And I, I'll make sure to share your shows on mine, but I think, I can actually reach out to some of the other platforms and see if they'll share us also. Because
I
this,
haven't even been sharing my show, so it's like
I
there's so
have.
many of them, uh,
right.
and they haven't been all that great lately just because we've been playing old videos, we
Yeah.
haven't tried to make new, we didn't know how long this thing would go on.
Who knew it was going to go on 6 months, 9 months, a year, 2 years? Like,
But Paul,
They
I
say
did not
actually
comprehend
more
the
people
more.
are going to die between now and the 1st of January than have died so far. We're up to like 195,000. They say we're going to be over 400,000 by January 1st. So the deaths are going to start to speed up again pretty quick.
Yeah, unless
Yeah.
we,
it could be. And
like
it
I
could be
said,
because of the
a
5G.
step to at least
5G.
consider.
Maybe
A
it's because of
step
the 5G.
to at least consider
You
is
what?
turn off the fucking microwaves. We can't turn them all off, but we
We're
can
sitting in
turn
front of
the
one right
lower.
now. We're sitting in front of a microwave.
Just we don't have to die.
By it everywhere.
I mean, the thing is
There are
that,
things that we are doing to ourselves that we are drowning in our own stupidity.
well, Nayer,
When I look at
the unfortunate part is, right, for communication, the microwave is our means of communication now. So it's either that we go off and be in our own little box and be protected, or be microwaved and communicate. It's just,
here's where I am. There's not that, I know what the media says. There is not that much difference in 2.4 speed and 5G.
In
They want
fact,
to
there
go
is no difference.
up to 6 speed now.
My son's been.
I had it for, there is no difference.
Yeah.
I don't download movies. Okay, it's just as
Even if
slow
you
or
do,
fast
there's no
as any given.
well,
So,
getting 5G.
do we
but
need to be at double the microwave level? That may make a difference. Once you're accustomed to it, like that 2.4G, and the years that I didn't have it, I was not close to any Wi-Fi source. And those years, I absolutely nothing. It wasn't until I walked into 5G. So I think there are things that we can do. We need to look at the radiation coming off the satellites. We need to look at the radiation coming off the nuclear plants. Honestly, there are things that we can do to at least lower the level. Also, there's dirty electricity that's sending off a lot of energy, and the smart meters. One of the things that I was on, because they're sending out energy pulses. And there's a lot of problems, because I used to have my computer over by the smart meter, and I had the two seizures when I was because I'm on the computer, as you may know, from when I wake up to when I go to sleep.
Yeah. Nice.
So that I was literally right up on top of that. So
Right,
there
well,
are
maybe,
things that we can do.
well, maybe right now, because we can't do anything because 5G is implemented. That's all there is to it.
Right
Maybe
now,
we
we got
limit.
to focus on the
Right.
election.
Focus on one thing, and realize that our time in front of the computer should be really like chosen time. I don't spend more than 3 hours a day now. I can't. So it's like I want to get in there, get it done, and get off. Everybody has to have their own choices, but again, there are so many things that we could be like, oh my God, to me the world is crashing. But one thing at a time, and the biggest thing is we have climate change happening, and we have economics happening. We have the ability to change that by planting and growing, developing.
Immediately.
If we could do that, we could start changing things right now. Within 5 to 10 years, we could have a whole different climate. But anything else, I mean, we can't fight the big guys with the 5G because everybody is so connected even to their computer right now. They'd be like, oh my God, you can't take that away, right? So all we can do is go, folks, I mean, it's wellness, economics, and environment. That's what cannabis does with marijuana and hemp. That's it. We've got to push for that, because if we don't have it, I mean, it makes me crazy. Hemp is economics, but we're not talking about it. It's like, are you kidding? We have an economic crisis, but we're not talking about what could change the economics. I don't get why. I don't get why, except for what you said a long time ago that I remember, the industrial petrochemical, no, the petrochemical
Paul
industrial
has
complex.
the phrase down to a science.
I
Industrial
didn't
chemical.
originate it, but after
Yes,
Nicholas
Paul.
Alvarez passed away, I have to preserve it. And it's always the biggest applause line anytime I give a talk, as it was for Gatewood. It's the petrochemical, pharmaceutical, military, industrial, transnational, corporate, elite, fascist sons of a bitches. Now, if I'm in a certain group, I will change it. So I don't say fascist sons of a bitches. I'll say the petrochemical, pharmaceutical, military, industrial, transnational, corporate, elite, ruling class. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Them,
Dark
or as we say in Harlem, them motherfuckers.
Yeah.
Well, on
Just
that,
sorry.
we know that we know that's our competition, and all I feel is that if we educate people enough and enlighten them enough, they might go, we can't let this happen anymore. I almost
Right.
I feel like if it doesn't happen in this election, we're kind of screwed again, and it'll just perpetually get worse, because people will lose hope. And when you go hopeless, nothing gets done. Nothing gets done. You
Right.
just bury yourself.
Absolutely. Hemp is hope. Hemp is victory. Okay? The H thing. Okay? So that's the message that we have to get out. It is time to ignite hope. And by ignite, I mean transform hope into reality.
Yeah.
Because the reason we are in this mess is because hemp was made illegal. If we were on hemp graphene or hemp biofuels, we wouldn't have messed up the air and changed the temperature of the planet. If we were on hemp foods, then there wouldn't be so many hungry people around. If we were building hemp buildings, then homelessness would be an unimaginable concept. What do you mean you don't have a place to live? It takes 24 hours to 3D print a 2,500 square foot structure. There is no excuse for homelessness. And where I am, there's a lime mine in sight from where I live. And hempcrete is hemp, lime, and water. I'm on the aquifer. So there is no excuse for homelessness. And if we clean out the ocean water, if they say you don't want to use drinking water, then there's things like hydrema and filters that we can put it through. We could, or just distill the ocean water. So we could get plenty of water if that's the problem for the hempcrete. And there's a water tower in Africa that harvests water out the air. There's some videos up on it. It's amazing. But people who used to have to walk to get water. So there are things that we can do. And yes, I want to 3D print those water towers out of hemp plastic. I think that would be a fun thing to do. We have the solution. Hemp is the solution.
Well, let's start with
there is no problem we are looking at.
Let's start with a plan, and our plan is on October 23rd and October 30th. Paul with Cannabis Common is going to have very special people come on from the political scene that you can talk to, and obviously we're going to have more of this conversation.
Yes,
so we can narrow down the plan and start on it. What day is today? Friday? Monday? Today's Monday.
It's Monday the 14th.
Okay. Yeah, I think, well, let's talk about how we can plan this out. I'm going to end this recording call because I want to post this.
Okay.
It's okay with you guys. Let's see. End the recording. I don't know. Oh my God, are you sitting? So like all of this where it said recording wasn't recording?
It says it's recording.
It's been saying recording.
It says it's recording now.
No, it's been saying it was recording.
No, it wasn't.
Okay.
right up in the corner of
I
the screen.
saw that. I saw it say recording.
Yeah, it's been saying recording since
Okay,
shortly
good.
after we started.
This is good. Okay. Well then.
So it's recording somewhere out there. It says it's still recording.
Okay, so there, I think I just put it on pause. All right. So how do we propose? I mean, for me, the best thing is to work like via email and go, here's what I think. I think we need to kind of identify who we want to talk to, and then reach out. And with a phone call and a backup email, and say this is what we want to do. So
what I like about the Facebook that you started, the Facebook conversation, as we bring people in, they can reference back to what we already know. They can go read through, just glance through whatever it is that they need to, like there'll be a link to this conversation if they need some information from the conversation. Sometimes it's easier to just drop a link or a note in the Facebook conversation than who do I put on the copy to, and if there's something in here that somebody else needs to know over there, they may or may not be on the list. So since we only have, 4 or 5 weeks, we can add folks. If they don't have a Facebook page, talk to me. I'll help them get a Facebook page. Just drop. That way you don't have to go through a whole email, put together a whole email just to drop a link or a quick short note. Of course, if you want to do something elaborate, by all means.
right.
But just because here we can add the entire hemp form.
Okay. And
onto
so
the conversation.
With the entire hemp forum, I'm thinking that there are people in there that would probably want to be able to have a conversation too. So back to our original thing, having a Zoom call that we can record with everybody on it, or as many people as can get on it. Well, I mean, anyone who understands Zoom, then they start understanding, well, if there's too many people, everybody has to mute, anyway, the rules of the game. But I think that all those people would probably want to be able to participate and have a voice in some way. So I'm thinking that might be separate from these other two.
Of course.
Right?
That should be my recommendation for that, again, on Cannabis Common Sense, is the last couple of weeks of the year, or really the last week if you just do it in a series of days.
Of the year?
That's the time for an international the last week of December is a time for international conversation. That gives forum members an opportunity to set up their own conversations in their own nations for how can hemp solve their nation's problems? Because that's basically what this candidates forum is. How are you going to use, when you are elected to office, how are you going to use hemp? Do you need some ideas for how to fix these problems? We're doing Jack Herrera 101 here. What are you going to do for the hemp industry? What are you going to do for the cannabis industry? What about the independent people who just want to grow in their backyard and make a couple of dollars or just feed their family? I did some research on hemp foods. I can't cook, but I can't wait to shift over to a hemp food-based diet. I've tasted them and they're wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I am on that.
What can I do with hemp to upgrade my community? I know when I get the greenhouses going here, there will be jobs going here for people in hemp cannabis, and there will be no hungry people because the profit will be strong enough so that if you're hungry, just come to the back door.
But I'm wondering if waiting till the end of the year, I mean, why wouldn't we just?
Because the reason that I'm saying the end of the year is because each country needs to have a conversation and give them some time, because that's just a month after we do this one. So we're finishing up in October. That gives them October and November to pull together what they think, because we're going into a brand new year. It's a time of prayer, of getting to know a lot of people in the same country are talking. I'm very grateful, like in Nepal, Ganesh and Mohan, who weren't working together before the forum, are working together now. Olive in Thailand. There may be some folks, some politicians there that she can bring, because people are going to need time. UN reps, I see no problem when we do a forum at the end of the year for people to contact their United Nations representative and maybe bring them in on the conversation, because that's the real place to solve the drug war, for what I'm understanding, on the international level.
Well,
so if we can get that body to move.
How about we do one, just like a preliminary one, just to get people talking.
Wonderful.
Like much sooner. Like
that would be great.
Like, I don't know. I mean, I see, I would do it before the election, but we could wait. We can wait till after the election.
I think we should do something before the election.
I think so too.
U.S.-centered, obviously.
Right.
So, but I think people around the world want to see us get rid of Trump, by and large.
Yeah, forgive me, that's my mission. I've not liked that man since 1973 when the article came out about him writing C for colored on rental applications.
Yeah.
I fought him personally on the Central Park 5. Yeah. His real estate, he wanted to do a real estate project in Harlem that would have raised the infant mortality rate that was already 2.5 times higher than the rest of the city, with a sewer hookup, without wanting to put any money in to get those primary and secondary tanks covered, which was the source of all the germs contributing to the infant mortality rates being so high. But all he saw was money, and then move into this century. So I'm committed to getting him to the point where there's a libertarian candidate.
Well, maybe maybe
I can't even consider him.
If we did it before the election, it would get everybody moved, right? And that's what we want to do. Right now nobody's doing anything as far as I'm concerned. So
me too.
To jump back into the forum and go, and you, since you lead the way there, say that we want to put together how can we solve our nation's problems with the legalization of cannabis globally, and just let everybody kind of come in and feel their own way through, and then we come back at another time, maybe after the election.
The other time is the last week of December.
Yeah, and I don't think we can, it's not about focusing on Trump or not Trump, because that could really sway a conversation to go a long way.
Right, I don't want, you don't have to mention him, just
some people like Casper and Patrick Moore, they're pro-Trump, right?
And Patrick, bless their hearts.
I know lots of people that are pro-Trump. I am in a world of confusion how friends that are so intelligent are going down that road, and then friends don't see Biden is brain dead. I don't see how they don't see that either. So it's really confusing. And I'm almost like, I don't care who it is, because I swear to God, if cannabis became legal and we could take the ball and run with it, fuck them. We will lead the way. People need to lead the way, but we need to have something to grab onto that we can lead the way. We need to have, and that will give us economics and environment and wellness. If we could have that, anything else we could tell them to go fuck off. Vaccine, no.
Yeah.
No. It's like no.
No.
But we need to have that. Without it, we're going down. I'm telling you, I'm a visionary. I see these things.
I am too, and I see us overcoming. I understand. Remember, we went through AIDS. We've gone through we went through 9/11. We have gone through, and what's always happened? We always come out stronger on the other side. There's a great gospel tune, and the lick line is, "A saint is just a sinner who fell down and got back up." So we have a lot of folks who are going to be going through the down times, and we have a lot of folks of light who will help them get back up. There's that great picture in Baltimore of Harriet Tubman reaching down with the big hand to give somebody a hand up. There's plenty of folks in position just on the spiritual tip who can help folks get back up. Because a lot of our base is wrong. we're worshiping athletes and movie stars. Kim Kardashian and Kanye West, give me a break. Okay, how do we go from Rock Hudson? I'm missing something. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
I'm missing something. We have so much we can lead. We will. I cannot stress enough. Our thoughts co-create our realities, and so many people are saying, "I'm not going down." Nope, it's not happening that way.
Right.
What do I have to do
Which
to
is why
rise
we're
up,
having
to
this
go forward?
conversation. Which is why we are having this conversation. We know
Yep.
we're not, but what I'm seeing is, Nayer, we are the ones we've been waiting for. We are the ones we've been waiting for. We cannot look outside of somebody else to fix this shit anymore. We are the ones that's going to fix the shit. And so we are the ones that lead.
Right.
We're like over here, like this is, and I'm just like so strongly compelled to just be the ones who say what we mean to say and don't cow down anymore and don't whitewash it and don't try and be nice. It's like, no, listen, here's what we have to do. People are looking for leaders. There are no leaders. Paul, we're the leaders. We lead.
Okay. I've been trying. I'll keep trying.
I'll be trying.
Better.
All right.
Again, we
Work
don't
on
try. We do. We do. Paul, you may have experienced it as trying, but you have done so much.
Yeah.
I understand, because as soon as you get something done, then you're on to the next one. But one day I request, dear brother, sit down and write down your triumphs. It's amazing. The time Dana would not be standing. Jack's message would not be out. Dr. Todd would have not had anybody to talk to. Lester Grinspoon might have gone on ahead and been absorbed into the hierarchy of Harvard University.
Mm-hmm.
You were the one, more than anybody else around here. You, in the movement, you were the one who lifted souls. You were the one who in the darkest of times stood at, yeah. I cannot tell you enough. And I know Teresa's been telling you, and it's the truth. That's why you get to be the one to go restore hemp.
It's the goal.
Because that's the energy it's going to take to shake. My grandmother, she would beat the hell out of us, yes, but she would also do something called scrambling. And scrambling is when the adult would put both one hand on each shoulder and then do like those old washing machines like that. And that was scrambling. It's going to take a scrambling to be, because when the process was finished, you were like this. But then when you came back to reality, it was, I don't think I want that to happen again. No bruises or nothing. But
yeah, it's odd, this
is system.
We're supposed to have 20/20 vision in 2020, right?
Yeah, it's the roaring 20s. This year is just the roar. The question becomes, now that the sound is made, what are we going to do? The last time it crashed, if we empower this with intelligent hemp, it'll be a springboard instead of a crash at the end of the roaring 20s. Because see, what we've been doing is we're using agricultural age and industrial age thinking in the information age. It's not working, folks.
No.
It's not, what'd you say, 400,000 deaths by the end of the year? Unless we change, we can change. I said, the cannabis oil, the hemp oil alone, the relaxation, to the foundation that it provides, would get people to at least rethink. Rethinking without stress is a radically different experience. That's where our thoughts can create a better reality. Forgive me, I'm starting. You got me started. On St. Paul.
So
St. Paul in the Next Testament
I don't know. I can't. I'm not a fan, but I keep trying. That's what I say.
No. Again, what did I tell you? A saint is just a sinner who fell down and got back up. You're back. You got every time. Things that would put everything you have into a ballot initiative. You know you won, but they don't count the votes right. So, okay.
Yeah,
heartbreaking. And what happened?
But I painted a time back a long time ago. It's like one woman told me, you chose your side a long time ago. You know?
Yeah.
Hey, how about Courtney?
Win every battle in the war, but you can win the war.
Okay.
You win enough battles.
All right, let's make a plan, because Paul is he's in. He's been in for a long time, and he keeps pushing forward. And now you got some charging angels, more charging angels behind you. They're gonna push you and make sure that you're well surrounded and embraced, so that we can. And I'm more than happy to help do the work, because that's why I'm here. I'm here to do the fucking work, because I'd rather be sailing. I swear. It was like, if it wasn't for this whole thing, I would be off, retired, having a good time.
I was in a sailboat regatta when I was 14, but I don't think I've been sailing since then.
Right. Right, because we're on a freaking mission. So I said, what about Courtney from the law firm?
Yeah.
I mean, it would be good to bring her in, and so I'm wondering. I mean, we kind of need to brainstorm how this looks. We have the dates, right? So we have the 23rd and the 30th. You can fit 4 people on your show, like if you did them 15 minutes a piece or 10 minutes a piece. That's 40 minutes plus your 20 minutes and your breaks. So that's 8 people that we have possibly that we can get on the show over that 2-week period of time. And again, like you said, they don't have to all be recorded at that time. My question is, just like this thing, nothing happens in the first 10 minutes, ever. That was why I love the power of the internet. It's like, boof, I could do a whole hour with this person and it doesn't matter, or an hour and 7 minutes, and right. Yeah. So again, with these conversations, just having 10 minutes with somebody isn't enough. It isn't enough. So actually, Cannabis Common could do a whole day on the 23rd. You could just your show could be it could be 12 hours long. It could be however long it is.
How long was that one that we did last with Casper? I think it was like 24 hours or something.
There you go.
Yeah, it was.
I just was on for like the last
it was done 24 hours. Yeah.
Right,
done 24 hours. And there was another one we did for 5 days. When you count, remember the Payday Friday series, Paul?
Yeah.
There you go.
So we would just spread it out over a period of time. An hour a piece. But I said, what I'm loving now is what you said earlier. We have no time limitations. I did a dozen-year networks in New York, and I really fitted, the 2 advertising blocks and the one. We don't have. We are unlimited, like Babylon. We know no limits. We are no longer limited by anything. We are limited only by our imaginations. There are no time limitations. There are no information limitations. That was the big limitation that came down when the Tower of Babel fell. Because he said that if our language, he confounded our language, because if we work together, we would be limited only by our imaginations. So
So let me say this, and I'm sorry for interrupting. It's kind of like the time just flying by. If we were, say, on the 23rd, right? That means that you have to do interviews before the 23rd, and say you have 6 hours worth of interview. And then it starts a block in the morning, and then you do 6-hour blocks, right? You know, so that, I guess anytime somebody went on, but I'm thinking, and correct me if I'm wrong, anytime somebody goes on, like if they were watching your show and your show started at 9 and it went to 10, if they went on at 9:30, they would see what was going on at 9:30. But if you pre-recorded a 6-hour block, I'm thinking that thing should loop, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Or does it matter that it even loops? It's a 6-hour block. No matter when they go on, it's going to start live at that point. Is that how? That's probably more how it works, right? It wouldn't have to be a loop because we're not on TV. On the internet, if they go on, they're going to start at the beginning. They're not going to jump in the middle of the show once it's pre-recorded, right? Because when it's pre-recorded, you're not jumping in the middle, you're starting at the beginning. It's only when it's live do you jump in wherever's happening, right? So yeah, so it's kind of like however long these interviews go, you know, and you should probably max them out at an hour because people lose attention.
Yeah, that's a lot for most people.
I understand, but if you
did, that's a lot.
An hour, it is. But if it's really good, and you're just like hammering and pounding and asking questions, you know, I mean, you can't cut off against somebody in 10 minutes. So if you get on with the senator, you want to talk to him as long as you can keep him going, and people will watch that on Cannabis. It'll be a huge draw. People will want to, they'll want to be a part of that. So again, I'm, you know, just knowing that we don't have time limits, we don't have boundaries is really good because you don't have to fit them within your hour show. You can fit them however long it takes. And then it's just a matter of getting them interviewed and then one long show put together before the 23rd. So it'd be like, and then with your editor, it shouldn't be too much to piece one long show.
No, that's what they do. I mean, it's time consuming, but which is why we like to do a live show. Just do it. There's a mistake, but it goes out, right?
All right. Yeah, I understand completely. And this will be, you know, this will go down in history. So it'll be worth the time. It'll be worth it. I just want to be a co-sponsor. And then anything do to help.
All right.
Yes. So Paul, you got 2 associate AI, I call it AITs, angels in training. If you're on Earth, then you could at most be an angel in training if you're a good soul. So
I would say just try to line up some interviews. You know, try to line up some interviews. I'll be happy to
do whatever we do.
Yeah, do whatever I can do to get it.
Okay. But you know people, right?
Yeah.
Do you know how to get a hold of the senator?
Not directly. So through their office.
Okay.
I mean, so Senator Kamala Harris, she's pretty busy. It's probably the best way to reach her would be through the Biden campaign somehow.
That's going to be Nayer. Nayer is going to reach out to her.
You know, an upstate New York congressman. So he's probably easier to get than Harris. Are you talking about Ralph Nader or Jerome Nader?
For a senator, I'm talking about the guy in Oregon who you said was the most progressive.
The guy who's the head of the Cannabis Caucus.
Yes.
Is a congressman. He's not a senator. So that's Blumenauer, Earl Blumenauer.
Yeah. Okay. But how about, the senator is, what is his name? Morick?
Well, we have Merkley. Merkley. Merkley.
He's really cool.
Yeah. Jeff.
Have you had him on your show before?
No, I've only had one sitting politician. I never asked really politicians. I had Dennis Kucinich. I had Dennis Kucinich on the show once.
Right.
And I've had people who are running for office, but I've never had any other congressman. I haven't really gone out and tried to reach them. Kucinich contacted me and came into our TV studio. He was running for president at the time.
I remember.
Okay, so let me ask you, what 6 people do you think you want? I mean,
well, Blumenauer would be really good.
And do you know him?
We know each other just being Portlanders, but no, I don't really know him. No, and
Okay, I'll
he
reach
knows
out to him.
he knows who I am. It would be good to have him on the show.
Okay, how about and Merkley would be good to have
Yep,
him.
Berkeley, he'd be very good to have on the show. Then the other Oregon senator who's not as active, but is still a marijuana supporter because our state's led the way, is Ron Wyden. Ron Wyden.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. All right, and then
Yeah, he sponsors some legislation. He's really good.
Yeah, he's really been fighting
I like him.
the NSA and for privacy and against the spy state. So he's good in that regard.
okay. All right,
There's
and then
Jerry Nadler in New York. He's a New York congressman. He's the chair of the House Judiciary Committee, and he's the guy who's sponsoring the MORE Act, which is going to be up for a vote this month. They say it's going to be voted on sometime before the end of the month.
oh, okay.
Yep.
Well, definitely him.
Yeah.
Can you, Nayer, could you reach out to him?
I'll reach out to Nadler and Harris and Mark Kelly.
Okay, great.
Because Mark's
great.
here.
And I'll take Merkley.
I'll reach to those three.
I'll take Merkley and Ron and Blumenauer, the Cannabis Caucus.
Okay.
And Courtney.
Yeah,
Just
Courtney.
for a little backup.
Okay, wonderful.
Wonderful.
Okay, good. So we've got our first set of marching orders. We got the date established. We've got 6 guests with 6 guests that we are initially targeting to reach out to this week. Cannabis Common Sense is the perfect venue with Paul at the helm so that we can actually discuss things from a common sense perspective. Darlene, you and I can put together a quick intro email. I'll draft it and then you can polish it off and we'll get that sent out. And probably this weekend is the next time if the 3 of us can talk. We want to bring somebody else in on the conversation. Either over the weekend or next Monday would work, depending on people's schedules.
Yeah, well,
because I'm blessed.
Friday,
I live and work.
Friday would be good.
Friday would work, but here's the thing. Okay, here's my thing. I'm turning 68 on the 17th.
Oh.
I plan on partying on my birthday.
Oh, celebrating.
Yes, joy. So I'm not saying I'm going to be up to a conversation about anything on the 18th.
Right.
So.
Yay. Good for that.
That's what I'm saying.
That's what I'm talking about.
See, I love me too.
Right. Right. Okay. Well,
So
Monday would be good. We can have a lot of things to get done by Monday.
Yeah.
And then
we can compare notes and stuff.
Right.
And there will be people we can add on.
Yes.
Through Facebook. Yes. And anybody who has a problem, I'm good at teaching. So I'll help them get if they don't have a Facebook page yet, then I'll help them get one. Because the more folks that we can get on any kind of social media, the better. Right.
And then let's, let that other thing roll in our heads for a minute for 1020. Or 1020 or for the entire group with the hemp forum, or maybe maybe we'll do it after so we won't have so much pressure.
Well, and consider we can let them know what we're doing next week. Okay, and that will give them time to think about what they can do in their countries, their communities.
And if they want to get together,
they might want to have a Zoom call.
We'll put it out there. Do you want to?
And we can even take
and meet and see each other's face. It would be great. Yeah. Who we don't even have. I mean, our agenda is what are we going to do? And then have everybody so we can see everybody's face. It would.
I sent you a link. Hold up. I sent you a link that has about 4 days of. We talk about paper, we talk about fiber, we talk about concrete, you got a few hours, and then you put the leading people in each group. It's laid out, I'll show, final remediation was another one, in terms of, so that each one is laid out. I've already got that part done.
Nice.
So that's for the big one. And each country will have their leaders in these different fields. So It will be powerful networking beyond even the event.
Right.
I dropped that link in our conversation box.
Okay.
Let me look at the two so that you know exactly which one I'm talking
Okay.
about.
Well,
But the layout part is done. The recommendation of day one being a overview, each nation, this is for the big one, each nation talk about where they are and where they want to go.
perfect.
Like, this is where we are in legalization, and this is how we want to use hemp to fix our society. A lot of folks haven't even thought about it from that perspective.
Right. Well,
How do we implement the hemp movement
so,
in Nepal?
Mayor,
How do we implement it in Kenya?
you have your is so expanded. It's like you have we could go on this and you'd be like this all day. I'm like, okay, I got notes, I got so much information.
Apologize.
So I think the international one, let's start massaging that. And for this week though, I have homework, and this homework, and you have homework.
Yeah.
This homework is
week,
really important.
our
And Paul, you're
focus
gonna get
is
research. Anybody we send you going, they're coming on, then it's your job to like be prepared. And I mean, there's no stopping what we want to say to any of these people. Just
correct.
if you want, if it wants to be said and be asked, and why
Yes.
the fuck, and what are we doing? And what are we gonna do? We're in May Day. We're in May. If I were on there, that's what I'd be doing. I mean, we're in May Day right now. We need to know what you're going to do. You're representing the people. You're here for us. What are you doing? We need to know. We need to do this. What are you doing? I mean, that's how hard we have to hammer right now. I believe. I don't believe there's any like, oh, so nice anything. You know,
There isn't.
People
can't afford the luxury.
People want to know what the hell we're doing. I watched the last Michael Moore thing. I don't remember what it was. And by the time they were done, it's like everything that we think is happening is paid for by the side that is controlling, right? Like the solar, all of that. So we have no plan for climate change. We have nothing. I walked away. I'm like, we're fucked.
Did you see Planet of the Humans?
Yeah. Hello.
Yeah. That shit wakes up.
Right. At the end of it, you're like, oh my God, there's no plan.
The people who are leading the environmental movement are just full of hot air.
They're the ones who are actually, it's like the demons are creating our little thing over here, right?
Yeah.
And it's not working. And it was just a diversion for us to think somebody was doing it.
This stage is all paid for by renewable energy.
Right.
No, maybe a microphone is powered by renewable energy, but it's not. They think it is, but they don't go back to look and find out that they're just being conned.
Well, the thing is that even with all of that, all solar energy is dependent on the power company. So the power is not going to go away. This is going to keep going.
And mining all of those metals and stuff,
It's just like, I just want to say one thing. This Sunday, CBS Sunday Morning, right? I watched that just to see what they think's going on.
Yeah.
And so they talked about how we should not have politics in medicine. So we go to the CDC because now I'm having a dispute with my boyfriend that politics isn't everything. The CDC is owned 50% by the Baker Company, who is the Congress. Congress, the U.S. Congress owns 50% of CDC is like, how can that even be? And then how is it that we can have politics in medicine, but Congress is owning the CDC along with Gates and then a million different pharmaceutical companies? So why are we listening to what? Yeah. So that's why I say, when you get in there with these guys, like, they went into office really wanting to service people, but then they got caught up in, you do what we tell you to do, or your ass is.
Yeah. Monomolecular mercantile madness.
Yes. So,
yes.
I wouldn't mind being on if you like me to back up, because I will stir shit. I want to just like do the little pokes. Yeah. because that's important. We need to have real conversation. If something doesn't happen, my granddaughter, your grandchildren, they're in deep shit. Everybody's, and that's how we should tell it to the people.
Yep.
Grandchildren are in deep shit. If
The
you,
air is a bunch
Okay.
of deep shit out there right now. That's for sure.
yeah. Oh man, I can't even imagine those poor.
And I got it about grandchildren and stuff. But for those of us who are in our 60s, planning on being in our hundreds, we got to get this stuff, because I don't want to have to be old in a fucked up world. I want to be old and happy. That's the only way this journey makes sense. So if I don't fix this stuff up now, I'm going to be a miserable motherfucker when I'm 90. It doesn't have to be that way. So I'm motivated to work.
Yes.
I would recommend we have this kind of conversation on the 21st. That's a week from today.
Okay.
We could share notes back and
21st
forth.
is not a good day
I
for
don't.
me. I already have a plan.
Okay, somewhere after that.
That day is my
Okay.
wife's birthday,
Oh.
and we're doing stuff together. It's
Absolutely.
Wonderful.
Happy birthday, both of you.
Happy
Look at that.
birthday,
Look at that, all of
Teresa.
you.
yeah.
Virgos.
So like I said, that week, we will
have
have a
a plan.
conversation next week, physically, as
Well, we could
notes
do
come
it,
up, just
like,
drop
the next
them in the
day.
office.
Tuesday would be good. The 22nd. you
Tuesday.
know?
Okay,
We don't
Then
have
the
I
22nd.
would like to suggest, though, that all conversation is continued to be open, whether we do this or not collectively on the 22nd, and we should be between email and whatever we need to do to keep this going and very stimulated, because I'm one that needs that continuation, or I just, like, but not on this. This I'm
You're
very
hanging
enamored.
with the right crew.
Yeah.
All
Good.
right.
We
Yeah,
are
I'm available most of the
relentless.
time.
What's that?
Okay,
I'm
so we
available.
will have our next conversation, the 22nd,
Yes.
and talking back and forth in text in the meantime. Well, I want to
this
thank
year-
both of you for your time.
Thank you. This year, the 22nd is autumnal equinox.
Ooh,
So the 22nd, the
Oh,
sunrise
joy!
all across the planet.
good. We'll record it.
All right.
Okay, good.
All right.
Well, God bless, and thank you. Joy, hip joy. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Love
Bye-bye.
you guys. Bye, Paul. Bye, Nayer. Love you guys.